Archaeologists unearth forbidden Chernobyl zone. What they found shocked the world. In that place, deep within the silent forest, abandoned buildings still stand motionless, mute witnesses to an invisible crime once committed by humanity. No more laughter of children, no sound of traffic, only the wind blowing through shattered windows and the quiet ticking of the Geiger counter. Each pulse, each beat, like the heartbeat of a forgotten land. Today, we turn back the hands of time to the fateful night of April 26, 1986, at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant, where one of the most catastrophic disasters in modern industrial history occurred forever, changing the way humanity views nuclear energy. Seconds before hell broke loose, the temperature inside reactor number 4 soared to 8,400 degrees, nearly as hot as the surface of the sun, a number far beyond any safety limit. Then came an explosion that tore through the night sky, shaking the northern skies of Ukraine. The blast had the power of 145,000 pounds of TNT, enough to obliterate a 20-story building. Worse still, it destroyed the reactor core and released about 61,700 pounds of radioactive material into the environment. The fire that followed raged for nearly 2 weeks, sending massive radioactive clouds beyond the borders of the Soviet Union. Carried by wind toward the north and west, they rained down radioactive showers over Europe like invisible blades slicing through the air. In the atmosphere, deadly radioactive isotopes iodine-131, cesium-137, and plutonium-239 began their destructive journey, attacking every living cell they touched. Just 36 hours after the explosion, over 50,000 residents of Pripyat, a town just 2 miles from the plant, were forced to evacuate. No one told them they would never return home. People were allowed to bring only a few personal belongings, leaving behind their homes, possessions, memories, and their futures. 47 workers died shortly after due to acute radiation syndrome. 9 children passed away from thyroid cancer. More than 4,000 cancer cases were reported, and 600,000 people suffered serious radiation exposure. Pripyat, once vibrant with apartment blocks, schools, and movie theaters, is now a ghost town. 35 years after the disaster, nature seems to be reclaiming control, but it's not life as we once knew it. The Red Forest. The most heavily irradiated area is where trees changed color, withered, and the soil became so radioactive that it could kill a human in minutes. Yet strangely, in the midst of death, new life has emerged. Black frogs, swallows with smaller brains, and many other wild animals have adapted to the radioactive environment. Some species have even developed new biological traits, such as darkened skin that helps absorb and resist radiation. Scientists have discovered that plants in Chernobyl have increased genomic methylation, a kind of genetic superpower that helps repair DNA and produce radiation-resistant enzymes. Though living in death, these plants have become symbols of nature's will to survive. Even more remarkable, despite strict evacuation orders, some people refuse to leave Chernobyl. These are elderly residents, deeply tied to the land. They chose to stay in the villages they once called home, even at the cost of their health and lives. They grow vegetables, pick mushrooms knowing the soil is contaminated with cesium-137, and burn firewood from radioactive forests. Those living there do not fear radiation as much as we might imagine. Perhaps to them, inner peace matters more than a life extended by fear. Over the years, scientists from all around the world have come to Chernobyl to study the long-term effects of radiation on biology. One such researcher, German Orizaola, discovered the evolution of black frogs in the exclusion zone. Biologist Elena Buntova and her photographer husband Sergei Lapiha captured rare images from within the ruins. Ecologist Timothy Mousseau analyzed the DNA of the region's stray dogs, revealing complex genetic links, a living map of post-disaster adaptation. Chernobyl has become the world's largest open-air laboratory where humanity and nature test the limits of life amid death. In 2016, a massive steel sarcophagus was built to cover reactor number 4, preventing further radiation leaks. It was designed to last 100 years, but what does that mean when plutonium-239 has a half-life of 24,000 years? Beyond scientific exploration, archaeologists have made unique discoveries here. The most striking, the Claw of Death, an excavator claw used to clean radioactive debris during the Chernobyl disaster. It was discovered by archaeologist Rob Maxwell. According to Maxwell, the claw is extremely dangerous. 33 years ago, it was used to collect highly toxic graphite and fuel rods scattered across rooftops after the explosion. During expeditions in 2010 and 2011, Maxwell used a handheld Geiger counter to measure its radiation levels before quickly retreating. The reading showed it still emits 39.80 microsieverts per hour, compared to a normal background level of 0.17 microsieverts. The sievert is the international unit for measuring the absorption of ionizing radiation that can cause biological damage. Another chilling discovery, a roughly 10-foot wide radioactive mass, hideous and wrinkled like tree bark and glass, known as the elephant's foot. It was found in December 1986 in a basement beneath reactor number 4. Even today, stepping into the room where the elephant's foot lies is equivalent to receiving a death sentence. This mass is highly radioactive corium, a rarely photographed substance. During a routine safety test on April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 exploded, triggering a chain reaction. About 600 workers were dispatched to contain the radiation leak. For 10 days, the nuclear fuel rods kept burning, releasing radioactive particles into the air. Over 30 workers died in the following months. Thousands more developed cancer and serious health issues due to immense radiation exposure. The elephant's foot emits up to 10,000 roentgens per hour, enough to kill a person in just a few days. Even a few minutes of exposure can cause horrifying symptoms like cellular destruction, vomiting, diarrhea, and uncontrollable death. Anyone lingering near it for over 5 minutes would be dead within 48 hours. This 10 feet wide mass is considered one of the most dangerous objects ever created on Earth. When it first formed, it was so hot it melted through several feet of concrete, eventually reaching groundwater and contaminating water supplies for miles. The most famous photo of the elephant's foot is shrouded in mystery. It is believed to have been taken by Artur Khayarev, deputy director of the Shelter Object Project, in 1996 beneath reactor room 217. Artur Korneyev, who visited Chernobyl more than anyone else, likely suffered the most exposure. He reportedly used a timer on his camera to capture this ghostly image. The blurry, mottled texture of the photograph is said to be the result of the elephant's foot's deadly radiation, even a decade after its formation. To this day, more than 33 years later, it still emits heat from radioactive decay and poses serious health risks. It is so hard and dense that no conventional drill can penetrate it. As you can see, the Chernobyl disaster of 1986 was unimaginably horrifying. But amid the devastation, archaeologists and scientists have made incredible, sometimes eerie discoveries. And yet, this isn't the end of today's story. Beyond the mystery of Chernobyl, many more fascinating, mysterious, sometimes spine-chilling discoveries await. So, what are they? Let's continue exploring right now. A skeleton with a glass bottle between its legs. At the beginning of 2021, during a major excavation at a former burial site used between 1783 and 1861 in the city of Hull, East Yorkshire, England, archaeologists encountered a bizarre scene, one that remains unexplained to this day. While excavating ancient graves on Castle Street in Hull's city centre as part of a £355 million, approximately $440 million USD infrastructure project known as the A63 scheme, aimed at creating a new junction to reduce traffic congestion, a team of 70 professional archaeologists made a strange discovery. Unlike the thousands of skeletons uncovered at the site, this particular one had a blue glass bottle placed between its legs. Even more puzzling, the bottle contained a mysterious brown liquid that has yet to be definitively identified. Etched into the bottle were the words Hull Infirmary, suggesting that the bottle was deliberately placed in the grave at the time of burial. This location is believed to be one of the largest post-medieval cemeteries ever excavated in northern England, and the discovery of the bottle shocked many. Katie Dalman, who oversaw the excavation, stated, "Finding artifacts such as rings, coins, clothing, and even dinnerware in burial sites is fairly common, but this bottle is highly unusual. Not only was it placed in a very specific spot between the person's legs, it was also sealed and nearly full of liquid." The engraving on the bottle served as a clue that helped researchers begin to unravel some of the grave's secrets. Hull Infirmary was first established at a temporary site in 1782, just 1 year before the cemetery opened, and was relocated to a building on Prospect Street in 1784. Katie added, "We now know a bit more about the individual's identity. She was a woman in her 60s at the time of death. She suffered from rickets and osteoporosis before she died." Further tests were conducted to determine the nature of the mysterious liquid. A sample was sent to specialists at Nottingham Trent University for advanced analysis. The results showed the presence of sodium, potassium, and phosphorus in the fluid. Archaeologists now speculate that the liquid might have been urine, though this possibility raises even more questions. What was the significance? Why was it placed there? And if it wasn't urine, what else could it be? Another theory proposed by Katie suggests that the fluid might have been a phosphate-based tonic. These kinds of medicinal tonics were popular in the 19th century and were often advertised as cures for various illnesses, including tuberculosis. However, without conclusive evidence, researchers are still running additional tests, hoping to uncover definitive answers soon. The 3,300-year-old claw of a flightless bird. You've probably heard of massive prehistoric creatures like dinosaurs or mammoths. But did you know that less than 30 years ago, archaeologists uncovered a strange living relic deep beneath the soil of New Zealand? It was a giant claw, still covered in flesh and skin, as if it had just been removed from a creature that died only days ago. This astonishing discovery was made in a deep cave on Mount Owen and left scientists across the world stunned. How could a piece of a decayed corpse survive for nearly 300 years and still retain soft tissue? And what mysterious creature had left behind such an eerie trace? The answer? The upland moa, a species of prehistoric bird that went extinct centuries ago but once ruled the grasslands of New Zealand. Yes, you heard that right. Moa birds, whose ancestors first appeared around 18.5 million years ago, weren't just a single species, but a group of at least 10 distinct species, each with unique sizes and features. Among them, the dwarf of the family, Megalapteryx didinus, the upland moa, was the most fascinating. They stood only about 4 feet 3 inches tall, making them the smallest, yet they were the most resilient of all moa species. Unlike modern birds, moas had no wings, no tail, and were covered in thick feathers, an adaptation to the cool climates of New Zealand's highlands. They once roamed dense forests, open grasslands, and rugged mountain regions. Each step of the moa carved a historical footprint into the wild landscape of this island nation. Their lives were peaceful, with their only natural predator being the Haast's eagle, the largest eagle known to have ever existed, capable of striking from the sky with deadly precision. But everything changed in the 13th century when Polynesian settlers arrived in New Zealand. With humans came uncontrolled hunting, habitat destruction, and the collapse of the natural balance. Despite surviving millions of years of geological and climate changes, the MOA couldn't withstand the devastation brought by the most intelligent species on Earth. One particularly tragic detail for researchers is the MOA's extremely slow growth rate. They took many years to reach reproductive age. This meant they couldn't reproduce quickly enough to offset the pace at which they were being hunted. Eventually, the MOA completely disappeared, long before European settlers arrived in New Zealand in the 1760s. Today, remains such as feathers, skin, and even muscle tissue have been found in caves, swamps, and deserts, offering haunting, tangible proof of a giant bird that once ruled this land. Discoveries like the Mount Owen claw not only deepen our understanding of the past, but also serve as a chilling reminder. Extinction is not a distant event. Sometimes, it's only one decision, one action, or one generation away. The stone walls of Sacsayhuaman. Imagine standing before a towering ancient structure once considered the stone heart of a great civilization. What would you think? Massive stones, each weighing hundreds of tons, are so precisely arranged that not even a sheet of paper can slip between them. What's even more astounding? Not a single drop of mortar was used in their construction. Yes, the structure I'm referring to is Sacsayhuaman, the mysterious and awe-inspiring masterpiece of the Inca civilization, located on the edge of the ancient city of Cusco, once the sacred capital of this mighty empire. Sacsayhuaman, pronounced Sacsayhuaman in the native tongue, is not just the ruins of a fortress. It's a symphony in stone, built with an engineering skill far ahead of its time. The zigzagging walls, layered in 3 tiers like dragon scales, are formed from enormous stone blocks, each meticulously carved to interlock perfectly. So much so, it feels like the entire structure was shaped from a single solid rock. One of the walls stretches nearly 300 feet long, stands around 20 feet high, and features stones that reach up to 28 feet tall. It's hard to believe this was built centuries ago by hand, without machines, and without using any cement. Estimates suggest that the original Sacsayhuaman complex was 4 times larger than what remains today and could have held over 10,000 people. And you might be surprised to learn that the Quilca culture, a pre-Inca society, began constructing the first walls here as early as the 12th century, hundreds of years before the Inca Empire reached its golden age. That means Sacsayhuaman isn't just a symbol of Inca grandeur, it's a living witness to generations of ancient peoples who once inhabited the Cusco Valley. But Sacsayhuaman is more than just a military fortress. Recent archaeological surveys suggest it may have once been a sacred temple, a ceremonial site dedicated to Inti, the sun god, the most important deity in the Inca belief system. 3 towers once stood atop the rounded platforms above the stone walls. These are believed to have been sacred spaces where priests conducted rituals, lifting their eyes to the sky as the Andean sunrise bathed the stones in golden light. However, the 16th century marked a tragic turning point. When the Spanish conquistadors invaded Cusco, they dismantled much of Sacsayhuaman in an attempt to erase the cultural symbols of the indigenous people. They repurposed stones from this holy site to build houses, churches, and mansions for colonial elites. What remains are the stones even the Spanish couldn't move, some weighing up to 200 tons, still lying there as powerful evidence of the skill and resilience of ancient builders. So when you stand before this colossal site, have you ever wondered, how did the Inca move and position such enormous stones? Is there something here that defies ordinary explanation? And if this truly was a temple, how many rituals and secrets still lie buried beneath layers of ancient earth and stone? The answers may remain hidden, but one thing is certain. This structure is absolutely stunning. The 3,500-year-old, 1,000-ton obelisk that was never raised. In the heart of an ancient quarry, a forgotten monument has been lying still for more than 3 millennia, not only bearing the marks of time, but also raising unanswered questions about the extraordinary engineering skills of ancient Egypt. This is the unfinished obelisk, a wonder left behind in the stone quarries of Aswan, once the largest source of granite in all of ancient Egypt. Set deep within this sun-baked land, the obelisk lies tilted in the ground, like a sleeping giant. And the most remarkable thing? It was never raised. Believed to have been commissioned by Pharaoh Hatshepsut, one of the most powerful female rulers in history, between 1473 and 1458 BCE, this obelisk was intended to serve as a companion monument to the Lateran obelisk in Karnak, which still holds the record as the tallest standing obelisk in existence, standing about 150 feet tall including its base. But astonishingly, if completed, the unfinished obelisk of Aswan would have been even taller, 1/3 higher than the Lateran obelisk, if measuring only the shaft. So why was such a massive and ambitious structure left incomplete? The answer lies in the cracks, evidence of a critical failure during its carving. While still being shaped from the granite bedrock, the obelisk split unexpectedly, making it unsuitable for raising into a monument. Even the most skilled ancient artisans had no choice but to abandon it. Yet, this very incompletion has made the unfinished obelisk unique. Since it was never moved from the quarry, it serves as a perfect time capsule, offering archaeologists an invaluable glimpse into ancient Egyptian stone carving techniques. The chisel marks are still visible, the red ochre guidelines still intact, as if the workers just left yesterday. Through these clues, researchers can reconstruct how these massive monuments were carved, shaped, and intended to be transported. An engineering marvel that still leaves the modern world in awe. But perhaps the biggest mystery remains. How could ancient Egyptians possibly move a stone weighing over 1,000 tons? The prevailing theory suggests they used wooden sledges to drag the obelisk out of the quarry and placed it on large barges to float down the Nile. Once it arrived at its destination, they likely relied on natural slopes, pulley systems, and ropes to hoist it upright, then lower it vertically into place. To many, that might sound simple in theory, but to pull that off more than 3,000 years ago without cranes, bulldozers, or modern equipment, That's nothing short of incredible. So even today, the unfinished obelisk is more than just an archaeological site. It's a testament to the ambition, skill, and imagination of the ancients. People who looked at a 1,000-ton block of granite and saw, not a burden, but a monument rising toward the sky. 2,000 mummified ram heads, discovered in ancient Egyptian temple. Amid the scorching sands of the ancient city of Abydos, once the most important religious center of ancient Egypt, a stunning discovery has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Over 2,000 mummified ram heads, resting silently beneath layers of sand for more than 2,000 years, have now been unearthed, revealing never-before-known secrets about the enduring reverence held for Pharaoh Ramesses II. Unlike the towering monuments or opulent tombs often associated with ancient Egypt, this time researchers didn't find gold, jewels, or ancient curses. They found rams. But don't dismiss this find, it's anything but ordinary. These ram heads were carefully mummified and were likely sacred offerings, symbolizing a profound spiritual connection between humans and the divine. Interestingly, these rams were not mummified during the reign of Ramesses II, but nearly 1,000 years after his death, during the Ptolemaic era, a time when the descendants of Alexander the Great ruled Egypt. This shows that the reverence for Ramesses II did not fade with time. Instead, it was preserved and perhaps even strengthened through generations. Many believed he was not merely a king, but a living god, a timeless symbol of power and order. So why rams? According to researchers, in ancient Egyptian culture, rams were not just domesticated animals. They were symbols of fertility, rebirth, and divinity. Rams were associated with gods like Khnum, the creator god with the head of a ram, who was believed to have fashioned humans on a potter's wheel. Offering mummified rams to Ramesses II may have been seen as a sacred gesture, a way to send a spiritual message of devotion to the soul of Egypt's greatest pharaoh. Beyond the ram heads, archaeologists also uncovered mummified remains of wild goats, cattle, dogs, and even antelopes, all animals believed to hold spiritual significance. This discovery paints a broader picture of ancient religious rituals, much of which we are only beginning to understand. These animals might have served as spirit guides for the pharaoh's soul in the afterlife, or as mediums for seeking divine protection. Even more remarkably, near the site where these thousands of animal mummies were found, researchers also discovered the remains of an ancient palace dating back 4,000 years to the Old Kingdom period, predating Ramesses II himself. This proves that Abydos was not just a burial or worship site, but also a political and religious center with a profound and layered history that spanned dynasties. And when you imagine thousands of meticulously preserved ram heads, wrapped in linen, resting beneath the floor of an ancient temple, it becomes clear that this is more than archaeology. It's a message from the past, a reminder that faith and reverence can transcend death and time, leaving immortal traces in the sands of the desert. A treasure hidden in a forgotten well. The story begins at the Abergavenny Arms, a building steeped in history, originally constructed in the 15th century. Once a courthouse, then a morgue, and now a cozy, vintage-style bar, the place holds more than moss-covered stone walls. Its current owner, Lucy Sargent, discovered the forgotten dry well beneath the bar during a routine maintenance check. Driven by curiosity and a glimmer of hope, Lucy hired a team of specialists to explore and clear out the well. What they uncovered exceeded all expectations. Thousands of metal coins buried in mud, alongside small pieces of jewelry, porcelain dolls, stuffed animals, and even numerous small knives scattered at the bottom. This bizarre and symbolic treasure trove had remained hidden for centuries. According to local lore, the well was once a wishing well. Over the centuries, countless individuals had stood at its edge, closed their eyes, and tossed a coin in, silently wishing for love, luck, or peace. Over time, the well became a repository not just for metal, but for the emotions, hopes, and dreams of generations. After cleaning, the total value of the treasure was estimated at around £1,000, approximately $1,260 USD. Not a large amount in monetary terms, but deeply meaningful for Lucy and the local community. "We don't want to keep it for ourselves," Lucy said. "It's a gift from the past, and we want to turn it into something positive for the present." So Lucy decided to donate 75% of the money to the New Haven RNLI lifeboat station, which performs life-saving missions along the southern coast of England. The remaining funds were given to Rodmell Parish Church, a long-standing spiritual symbol of the area. The story of the old well is captivating not for its material worth, but for the questions it raises about history, spirituality, and humanity. Who was the first person to toss a coin in? What were the small knives, toys, or remnants of forgotten rituals? And the wishes whispered into the darkness of the well, did any of them ever come true? Perhaps the real treasure lies not in the coins or trinkets, but in the way modern people honor the past, without destruction or haste, but with a gentle human dialogue across time. In a world constantly in flux, even an old well can tell a story that was never written. The past, after all, is quite a fascinating place. The Skeleton Lake, containing hundreds of human remains. Hidden in the snow-covered valleys of the Indian Himalayas lies a remote glacial lake filled with hundreds of human skeletons. This is Rupkund Lake, located at an altitude of 16,500 feet above sea level, nestled in the Trisol mountain range, one of the tallest peaks in India, in the state of Uttarakhand. The site was discovered in 1942 by a British forest ranger. To date, an estimated 600 to 800 skeletal remains have been found there. For more than half a century, anthropologists and researchers have been puzzled by a series of questions. Who were these people? When did they die? Where did they come from? One prevailing theory suggests they belonged to an Indian king, his wife, and their attendants, all of whom perished in a sudden hailstorm about 870 years ago. Another theory posits that the remains are those of Indian soldiers who attempted to invade Tibet in 1841 but were pushed back. More than 70 of them are believed to have tried to return home across the Himalayas, only to die on the way. Yet another possibility is that the lake served as a burial ground for victims of an epidemic. A research team conducted DNA analysis and carbon dating on 38 bodies, including 15 women, and found that some remains date back approximately 1,200 years. The analysis revealed a surprising genetic diversity among the individuals and indicated that their deaths occurred as much as 1,000 years apart. According to Iadao and Harney, a graduate researcher from Harvard University, it's still unclear what exactly happened at Rupkund Lake, but what we do know is that the deaths of these individuals cannot be explained by a single catastrophic event. To this day, no definitive explanation has been found for the tragic fate of those who died here. The mystery of Rupkund Lake remains unsolved. The Cave Temples of India. Deep within the dense and dangerous forests of Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve, where wild Bengal tigers still silently stalk their prey, lies an archaeological treasure that few could imagine. Over 20 ancient Buddhist temples and dozens of sculptures, undisturbed for more than 2,500 years, are now slowly being revealed thanks to the dedicated and daring efforts of Indian archaeologists. Excavating in Bandhavgarh is unlike any ordinary archaeological mission. It is tiger territory, and every step into the jungle could be a person's last. But the risk has proven worthwhile. In total, researchers have discovered 26 rock-cut cave temples, housing Buddha statues, stone carvings, ancient reliefs, and even old board games etched into stone slabs, vivid remnants of a once thriving civilization deep in the forest. Most remarkable are 46 preserved sculptures and 19 ancient water paintings, an incredibly rare form of artwork that has survived in surprisingly good condition, showcasing the advanced aesthetics and craftsmanship of ancient artisans. This area was not just a spiritual hub, but also a major cultural and religious center that remained active until at least the 11th century. Additionally, some of the hydraulic systems and irrigation structures found at the site have been dated to the 15th century, indicating that the region served not only religious functions, but also played a strategic role in both daily life and defense. Every stone, every path, and even the smallest carvings contribute to the story of a flourishing Buddhist center that once existed in the heart of the wilderness. Among all these impressive finds, the most significant and perhaps the most astonishing is the massive statue of the god Varaha, carved directly into a cliff face and estimated to date back to the 9th century. Depicted as a half-man, half-wild boar figure symbolizing divine rescue in Hinduism, this statue is not only rich in spiritual meaning, but is also a breathtaking masterpiece of rock sculpture. It serves as a powerful testament to the cultural overlap between Buddhism and Hinduism during a transformative period in Indian history. It is almost unbelievable that such invaluable treasures lie within a wildlife reserve, an area most people today associate only with rare animals, never suspecting that a historical trove spanning more than 2 millennia rests beneath layers of moss and the dust of time. Each discovery here enriches our understanding of ancient Indian religion and art, while also prompting compelling questions. Who built these temples? How did they live amid the wilderness? And how did such a sacred site remain forgotten for centuries? As sunlight filters into these ancient caves, casting a warm glow on the faded sculptures, one does not merely see history, but feels the breath of a once vibrant culture slowly returning to the world, one archaeological dig at a time. Mysterious object, 78 feet long, found on the beach. Recently, strange and unusual creatures have been washing up on beaches around the world, carried in by the waves. These often include the remains of marine animals, some of which can be identified and others that cannot. From jellyfish to massive fish species, these discoveries have continued to surprise local residents and experts alike. However, recently on a beach in Florida, locals discovered a mysterious structure approximately 78 feet long buried in the sand. Residents reported that after Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Nicole, the coastal erosion in the area had exposed some unexpected things. Unlike other beaches, the structure discovered on the Florida beach appeared to be made of wood and metal. However, its true nature and composition have yet to be determined. Tamra Malfers, a spokesperson for the Volusia County Beach Safety Agency, mentioned that the erosion had not been noticed in a long time. She said, "It's been a long time since we've seen erosion like this. I've been at this beach for nearly 25 years, but this is the first time I've seen something like this exposed. However, we're not sure what it is." Soon after photos of the mysterious object were shared on social media and quickly went viral, people began speculating about its true nature. Many suggested that the object might be a shipwreck or the main part of an old ship. On the other hand, some argued that its size and shape seemed too small and too straight for a ship. Earlier, local residents had discovered a strange creature about 26 feet long washed up on the beach in Bremen, Maine. It was the carcass of a basking shark, a massive creature about the size of a pickup truck. Although the basking shark is harmless to humans, as it primarily swims through the water with its mouth wide open to feed on plankton and small invertebrates, the cause of its death remains unclear. Just like the mysterious object 78 feet long, its origins remain one of the ocean's greatest mysteries. The Golden City of Paititi. There is a legend about the lost Golden City of Paititi, a sacred place filled with gold, hidden somewhere deep within the jungles of South America. Long ago, the Spanish army and the army of the Inca Empire frequently clashed. When the Spanish forces prevailed and seized the wealthy city of Paititi, they were stunned to find only an abandoned city. The people of Paititi had evacuated to a new settlement in the South American jungle, in what is now southern Brazil. They took all of their treasure, including vast amounts of gold, with them. The new city where the Paititi people relocated has never been found, and naturally, the gold they carried with them vanished mysteriously. The story of the Golden City of Paititi gradually turned into a legend. In 2009, satellite images of areas of deforested jungle near the city of Boca do Acre, Brazil, showed evidence of large human settlements once living in the area. This discovery caused historians and archaeologists to remember the legend of Paititi, prompting the possibility that a golden city had once been hidden deep in the South American jungle. However, the exact location of this golden city has yet to be uncovered. The Hell Gate, burning for a century in Ethiopia. The Hell Gate is the name of the world's oldest continuously active lava lake. Temperatures here have sometimes exceeded 2012 degrees Celsius, but this has not deterred brave visitors. Portuguese photographer Joel Santos, 38, used a special drone camera to capture the majestic beauty of the lava lake from above. The lava lake is located on the Erta Ali volcano in the Afar region of Ethiopia, and it has been burning continuously since 1906 with no sign of stopping. Santos mentioned that every 2 to 3 minutes, he hears a small hissing sound caused by pressure building beneath the volcano and cracks suddenly widening. Santos is fully aware of the dangers of capturing such a natural phenomenon from such a close distance. The most recent major eruption occurred in September 2005, killing 250 livestock and forcing nearby residents to evacuate. Then in August 2007, the lava flow caused 2 people to go missing, and just over a year later, in November 2008, the volcanic eruption forced more evacuations. The Danakil Desert, where the Erta Ile volcano is located, is the hottest uninhabited area on Earth. As a result, Santos could only shoot in the early morning or late evening. His cameras, with 4K resolution, are capable of handling the intense heat near the lake. He also warned, "We must be extremely careful. The natural scenery is magnificent, but always carries many hidden dangers." However, one of the issues to be mindful of is the safety at Erta Ile itself. Not only is the terrain one of the most inhospitable on Earth, but the local people are often considered hostile to visitors. In 2012, some tourists were kidnapped, injured, or killed in this area. This truly is a place both mysterious and terrifying. The treasure in the Copper Scroll. Located in the dry land of the Judean Plateau, not far from the Dead Sea and the town of Kalya, is a place that was once forgotten by time, the Qumran site. Here, the sheer cliffs, rugged ravines, and ancient caves are not only natural relics, but also hold one of humanity's greatest archaeological treasures. Among the hundreds of remarkable discoveries here, there is one mystery that still baffles scientists and treasure hunters worldwide: the mysterious Copper Scroll. In 1952, in Cave 3 of the Qumran area, archaeologists discovered an unusual object, a heavily oxidized copper scroll that appeared to have been rolled up like leather or papyrus. What was special about this scroll is that, unlike the over 970 other manuscripts made from leather and papyrus, this one was made entirely of metal. Later, for technical reasons, it was split into 2 parts, but in reality, it was still one single scroll. When the contents inside were deciphered, the world was stunned. The scroll did not contain scriptures, religious laws, or historical records. Instead, it was a detailed list of 64 locations where gold, silver, precious metal ingots, and jewels were hidden. The descriptions were vague yet full of allusions, as if they were coded for those in the know to understand. For example, in the tomb at the 3rd column of stones, there are 100 gold bars. Or, climb the secret staircase to the left, above the floor, there are 40 pounds of gold. These short but suggestive sentences make the reader feel as though they are stepping into a maze in search of ancient treasure. According to experts, the Copper Scroll is believed to have been written between 110 BCE and 30 BCE, during the time when the Romans were occupying this land. Many scholars believe it could be a treasure map created to hide valuable assets during times of turmoil, when Jewish temples were being destroyed and people had to flee, taking what they could carry with them. What adds to the allure of this Copper Scroll is the long silence that followed its writing. No one came to collect the treasure, and no records have confirmed that any of the listed locations were ever found. All that remains are a list of vague coordinates, directions hidden in symbolic language, and hundreds of gold ingots that have never been unearthed. Because of this, the Copper Scroll has become one of the greatest mysteries in archaeological history. Many searches have been conducted, but to this day, none of the treasures on the list have been confirmed as discovered. Could the whole story be just a legend? Or are those treasures still lying dormant in the earth of Israel, waiting for someone brave enough to decode each line of the cold, greenish copper? When the desert sun shines on the characters etched into the Copper Scroll, people don't just see metal and words. They see greed, hope, and the collapse of an ancient civilization that faced historical turmoil and, in desperation, left a map behind for future generations, a map no one is sure will ever lead to its destination. As you can see, the ancient world is always filled with incredible and mysterious secrets, many of which we may never fully uncover, right? So, out of all the fascinating discoveries mentioned, which one impressed you the most? Feel free to leave a comment below, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any other historical exploration videos. And now, this video will pause here. Goodbye and see you again soon.